So we are discussing about the amplifiers. Okay, with the help of transistor, you know that transistor is a three-terminal device. It can amplify. Like the transistors, there are other three-terminal devices after the transistor have been invented. That is the junction field effect transistor, JFET, MOSFET, metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. These are all also three-terminal devices. Before the transistor, you know that the vacuum tube, that means the triode was there and triode amplifier was there. After the triode amplifier, you have the transistor, and in the form of most widely used transistor as a junction transistor, PNP or NPN. That is why we are discussing the junction transistor circuits mainly. There is not far difference between the junction transistor amplifier and the triode amplifier. And also, after the junction transistor amplifier, you have the devices like JFET, MOSFET, CMOSFET. These are also can be used to amplify signal. There are circuits, amplify circuits with the help of that devices, which is after the transistor also. The circuit after the transistor, that means those devices, is also similar, works in a similar fashion with the transistor. All these class of amplifier circuits made with three-terminal devices like triode, then transistor, then JFET, MOSFET, CMOSFET. These all three-terminal devices, amplifier can be constructed, and the basic principle of these circuits are same. That first you have to make these three-terminal devices in the operating condition. That means you have to bias the three-terminal devices in the middle of the active region such that within the output characteristics, in the output characteristics of the device, you must set the operating point of the device in the middle of the active region or the operating region. Then you apply the signal to the circuit. That means to set the Q point of the in the middle of the active region. That means you are actually making these three-terminal devices in the operating condition first by applying some battery and resistances. That is called the biasing. We have discussed a lot of things about the biasing. So you have set some Q point, DC operating point in the middle of the active region or the operating region. Then now you're after the bias, that is called the biasing, and after the biasing, the device is in the operating condition. Okay, that operating condition device, that means the device, three-terminal device like the transistor, and the resistances and batteries will be there. So that is the circuit, biasing circuit. Then you have to apply your desired signal to be amplified with some capacitors or transformers such that your DC operating point, that is the working condition of the device, does not shift, or the Q point, working condition of the device, that means the Q point of the device does not shift. If the Q point does shift, then you will not get the proper amplification from the device. It may not amplify, or it may not amplify properly. So you must fix the operating condition of the device first, that is the DC operating condition, that is the Q point, then apply your signal through some capacitors. These capacitors are called the blocking capacitors. In case of transistor C amplifier, we have seen that it does not affect the DC condition of the circuit, does not allow any change of the DC condition of the circuit, and it properly amplifies the signal. These discussions, whatever we have done, is a conceptual discussions. First, you have to understand the basic principles of the concepts. Then you can analyze the amplifier circuits mathematically. There are lots of mathematics are there. Equivalent model of the transistor is there, through which you can get a mathematical expressions of the gain, of the input impedance, of the output impedance of the amplifier, these are very important parameters of the amplifier to be measured. Unless you know the input impedance and the output impedance and the gain of the amplifier circuit, then you cannot connect a source or cannot connect a load properly. I know that you have a idea from the circuit theory class that you know maximum power transfer theorem. I hope that you have learned this maximum power transfer theorem from the circuit theory class. What is the maximum power transfer theorem? Is that that if the impedance of the source and the load is connected to the source is not matching, then maximum power will not be delivered from the source to the load. So this is the maximum power transfer theorem. To sufficiently maximize the power transfer from the source to load, so you have the load impedance should be same as that of the source impedance. That is why if you don't know the input impedance of the amplifier, then you cannot match the source you are connecting to the amplifier. If there is any mismatch, maximum power will not be transferred. So source impedance, AC source impedance, and the input impedance of the amplifier should be same. So that is why you require this type of input impedance, output impedance. If the amplifier circuit output impedance is not same as that of the load is connected, then maximum power will not be delivered by the amplifier to the load. So there will be problem. So for this reason, sufficiently you can apply maximum AC power to the amplifier, and you can get maximum AC power to the load supply. So you require input impedance, output impedance, and as well as the gain of the amplifier properly. That is why there is some discussions is there. Hybrid equivalent model is there to calculate these parameters. I have not yet discussed those things. It is not very difficult, but it is quite easy. But I have not discussed that one. What I have discussed is the qualitative discussions of the amplifier, how the circuit actually amplifies, how the transistor amplifier circuit actually amplifies signal. That is a very basic and conceptual discussion. I hope you have understood the discussions. At least you require this thing. Unless you know these basic thoughts that how a transistor circuit amplifies, you cannot analyze the circuit. Or if you analyze the amplifier circuit, that will be a mechanical analysis. That means you are not understanding anything, but you are doing the analysis and you are getting the input impedance, output impedance, and the gain of the amplifier. First, you have to understand that what is the basic principles. Then if you analyze, then you will get the insight that what is the purpose of this analysis and what we are actually getting. So I have not discussed those parts. If the time permits, I will discuss that one. I will definitely discuss that one to give you some idea that how an amplifier circuit is analyzed. But today's discussion is little bit different from that one. I hope that you are getting the slides. Can you see the slide clearly? Common emitter amplifier we have discussed earlier classes. Are you getting these slides? Okay, am I audible to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just what we are discussing, that whatever we have discussed, the C amplifier, the circuit here in this circuit, that whatever we have discussed here, that C amplifier, that means this circuit is called a small signal amplifier. Okay. Why I am discussing this one, it is required to understand that what is the purpose of these circuits. This I have discussed earlier, that is called the small signal amplifier. Why it is called? Because this input signal should be small. If the input signal is not small, then the nonlinearity of the transistor will be more. If the signal is large, then execution of the collector current at the output characteristics will be more, and there is the nonlinearity present in the output characteristics of the transistor, and that will make your signal distorted. If you make this input signal is small, then what happens? In the output characteristics, the excursion of the signal will be small. If it is a curved, if the output characteristic is curved, then a small segment of that curved portion is similar to be a straight line. And for this reason, the small signal will give you at the output a similar linear output signal, undistorted signal, because the execution of the signal is small within the small range. At any nonlinear curve, if you take any complicated nonlinear curve, a small portion of that curve is a straight line. If that is a straight line, then whatever is the input, and that will be at the output, you will get the slope of that portion of the straight line and multiplied by the input. So you will get the exactly similar output signal. That is why these amplifiers is called the small signal amplifiers. Why it is small? Because you don't want any distortion in the signal. If you increase the amplitude of the signal, this signal at the input side, then at the output characteristics curve, the excursion of the signal will be more, and that will give you the output character, that portion of the nonlinear curve will not be straight line, and there you will get some distortion. So that is why you have to make this input signal small. And to get a undistorted amplified signal at the output of the amplifier, that is why it is called a small signal amplifier. All these amplifiers are called small signal as well as the low frequency. Why it is called the low frequency also, we will discuss in the coming classes. Right now you cannot understand that why it is also called the low frequency, but for the time being you know that it is called the small signal low frequency amplifiers. Okay, the operation of the input signal, that means the input signal you want to amplify, should be in the low frequency zone. Okay, it is not in the high frequency zone. Low frequency means audio frequencies. Okay, you know the range of the audio frequencies. It is not in the radio frequency zone. So frequency will be low, as well as the amplitude of the signal will be low. Then these amplifiers can amplify at the output. You are getting the signal at the output exactly of the same input, undistorted output signal you will get, as well as you will get some amount of amplified signal. So this is the purpose of this signal. That is why it is called the small signal low frequency amplifier. The low frequency part we will discuss later when we discuss the high frequency equivalent model of the transistor. Then you can understand very precisely why these amplifiers we are discussing right now is called the low frequency. What happens in an electronic system or in an electronic circuits, whenever you require to amplify some signal? Suppose you are amplifying some signal which is coming from the remote place. That means suppose you are at the receiver end. So the signal from the distance apart transmitter you are getting is a very small signal. It's not it. It is a wireless signal is coming on, or through the wired communication also. If the signal travels through a path, it will be distorted. It will be small, because the dissipations of the energy of the signal will be lost during the propagation, and you will get a very small amplitude signal, or the power of the signal at the receiver end, you will get very small signal. Then how to handle that small signal? That small signal, suppose it is a voice signal, then you cannot directly connect through, you are capturing the signal through the antenna, okay? Then you cannot directly apply to your speaker, because the signal is so small, it is close to the noise level, so you cannot get your voice signal or the song, whatever you want to listen. It cannot drive the speaker. If you directly, after the antenna, if you directly connect to the speaker, then it cannot drive the speaker. The amount of power, AC power required to drive the signal will be much more. So in between the antenna and the speaker, your sound system, you require an electronic system. That electronic system will amplify your incoming small signal to a large value that can drive your speaker. Or if it is a video signal, that can drive your video monitor. Is that okay? So this is the between the antenna, receiving antenna, and your ultimate device. You require some amplifying system that can boost the signal such that it can drive the speaker, or it can drive a motor, or it can drive a video monitor like this. So for this reason, you require some power amplifiers. What is the main structure of that amplifying system? When the signal actually you are getting through the antenna, that is a very small signal. Then after that small signal you have received, okay, there must be some filters, but I am not discussing about the filters. Suppose the antenna you actually getting only the signals. So filters part you will see learn in a detail in the communication system, that why we require filter, why you require IF filter. I am not discussing about the filter, but suppose that the signal, the antenna is receiving only your desired signal, and at the output of the antenna you have a very small signal, so that cannot drive your speaker or video monitor or motor, whatever be. Then you require to amplify the signal. So initially you have to apply this small signal low frequency amplifier. Okay, first you have to apply this. You have to apply first these amplifiers, what we have discussed. These amplifiers. So this small signal low frequency amplifier, it is also a class A amplifier, because you see that at the output you are getting the full signal. So it is definitely a class A amplifier. So this type of small signal low frequency amplifiers, you have to first choose to amplify the incoming very low signal. Then this amplifier will make the signal amplified, as well as there will be no distortion. The incoming signal at the output of this small signal amplifier will be amplified little bit, but there will be no distortion. The signal. So what you get ultimately after a class A amplifier section, small signal amplifier section, class A amplifiers, you get your exact signal which is coming, but slightly the signal is amplified. So a cascaded this type of small signal low frequency amplifiers, you have to apply fast. Your signal, incoming very small signal, will be amplified, will not be distorted. Then after this class A amplifiers, that means the small signal amplifiers, at the output of these amplifiers, you will get the signal which is large, but the signal is not distorted. The signal is little bit amplified by this class A small signal amplifiers. This small signal class A amplifiers has a very small gain. So it will amplify the signal without undistorting the signal shape. But that is not enough to drive the speaker. Your speaker requires a very large AC current or voltage to drive the speaker. So that is not enough. So for that reason, your output device, which may be a speaker to listen the voice signal or song, which may be a video monitor to display the video, or which may be a motor, which may be another antenna to transmit, these devices, output devices, the amplification by these small signal class A amplifiers, output of these small signal class A amplifiers will not be much, will not be sufficient to drive the output devices like a speaker or whatever be. So that is the problem. So you cannot get your desired amplification from these small signal class AC amplifiers we have discussed earlier. That is the problem. So these amplifiers has certain limitations. What are the limitations? That the weak signal which is received by the antenna will be amplified by this C amplifier circuit, which is a small signal, little bit undistorted amplification you will get, but that amplified AC signal is not sufficient to drive your output device. That may be a speaker, that may be a video, whatever be a motor. So you need to boost the output of this small signal amplifier to a large value such that the speaker can be driven. For this reason, after this C amplifier amplification, your signal is amplified little bit undistorted. Then you need some power amplifiers to boost the AC signal to such a level that it can drive your speaker. So then you require that to output device to properly drive the output devices like a speaker, video monitor, motor, or another antenna. You require a power circuits. You need to push the AC power to high value such that speaker can be driven. So that in that portion, after this small signal class A amplifier, you require a power amplifier to boost the AC power to such a high level that your speaker can be driven. So this is the idea. Without the power amplifier, you cannot drive the your speaker. With this amplifier only, this is the small signal amplifier. It cannot drive the speaker. So you require a power amplifier or the power circuit to boost the AC signal to such a high level such that your output device properly function. Sufficient AC power will be delivered to the output device and your output device will properly function. It may be a speaker, it may be a video monitor, it may be an antenna, whatever be, it may be a motor, or there are lots of different output devices are there present. So you can drive your output device. So fast initial amplifiers to boost the small incoming signal are the small signal low frequency amplifiers like these C amplifiers we have discussed so far. After this amplifier, the signal will be little bit boosted. Signal will be little bit amplified, but the signal will not be distorted because it is a small signal amplifier, linear amplifiers. Then you require a power amplifier to boost the AC signal to such a high value level that will be sufficient to drive the speaker. Without the power amplifier, if you directly connect to this output, this load, suppose this load RL is a speaker, so it cannot drive the speaker. This amplifier only. So after this C amplifier, you require a power amplifier. So that is the reason we should discuss about the power amplifier, and that is why we should have some power circuits or power amplifier at the final stage of the amplification system such that your output device can be driven. I hope that you have understood the idea. That is why this power amplifier sections appears. This power amplifier section, actually the power circuits and systems, you see the definition. I have just mentioned the definition here. That an amplifying system usually consists of several stages in cascade. An amplifying system usually consists of several stages in cascade. So what is the meaning of this sentence? That the incoming signal which is coming captured by the antenna, output of the antenna, you now need some amplifying system to boost your incoming AC signal because the antenna is capturing very low signal. So amplifying system usually consists of several stages in cascade. That is why you require not only one amplifier can amplify that small signal. Several cascaded stages of amplifiers you require to boost the incoming signal. The input and intermediate stages operate in the small signal class A mode. You just see that whatever I have discussed that is written here. The input and the intermediate stage. Okay, the input and the intermediate, that means that after the antenna you have an input amplifier that is also a small signal class A amplifier, and the intermediate stage the final amplifier is there, but within the fast amplifier and the final amplifier, you may require some other amplifiers are also there, but the intermediate amplifiers, the fast amplifier and the intermediate amplifiers, all the amplifiers will be small signal class A type. It can amplify the signal without distortion, but the amplification will not be very high level. Those amplifiers are called the small signal low frequency amplifiers. Their function is to amplify the small input excitation to a large to a value large enough to drive the final device. These amplifiers, together with the power amplifier, so the fast amplifier, the intermediate amplifiers, and the last amplifier is the power amplifier. These all amplifiers system is required to boost the incoming low AC signal to such a high value that it can drive the final device. So this is the final device. This final device may be your speaker. The final device is you want to drive, that may be a speaker, that may be a motor. So this final device is the important, because without the final device, you cannot recognize the electrical signal which is coming. This is an interface between the electrical domain to your realization. If it is a voice signal, so through the amplifiers, the voice signal is coming in the electrical domain. And the final device, which is a speaker, that actually converts the electrical signal to the voice signal. Then you can understand the voice signal, because you can recognize the voice signal within the audible range. So the final device is the output device that is required. It may be a speaker, it may be a video, it may be a motor. So you can understand that the final device, what does it mean? So this amplifier system is required to drive the final device. This output stage feeds a transducer. That final device is actually a transducer. That means if it is a speaker, then it is actually electrical to sound energy conversion transducer. That transducer actually converts, if it is a speaker, then that actually converts the electrical signal into a sound signal, such that you can hear the signal. Without this speaker, you cannot understand whatever is the amplifying system is delivering to you. So this output stage feeds a transducer such as a cathode ray tube, maybe a cathode ray tube, CRO, such that you can see the display that what is the signal is coming. A loudspeaker, a speaker or loudspeaker, that means you can understand the loudspeaker actually converts the electrical signal to the sound signal, and you can listen to the signal and you can get your signal, voice signal. It may be a song. A servo motor, it can drive a motor. If the motor functions according to the signal, then you can understand that the signal is coming. Or antenna. If you are in the transmitter end, then at the final stage, you need to transmit the signal through an antenna. So the signal should be such that it can drive the antenna. So these are the final devices, and hence must be capable of delivering large voltage or current swing or an appreciable amount of power. This final device, you need to drive the device. Okay, speaker, sufficient amount of AC signal should be at the input of the speaker, otherwise you cannot hear the sound. The speaker will not work. So to drive this final device, you need to boost the incoming AC signals. The initial fast and intermediate stages are the small signal low frequency class A amplifiers, but the final amplifier that actually drives this signal to such a high level that it can drive your final devices like a speaker, motor. So there you require the power amplifier. So this power amplifier is the important stages of amplifier. The final stage of the amplifying system, the final stage, you should have a power amplifier. This power amplifier only can boost the AC signal to such a high level of voltage AC swing or current AC swing, or the power of the AC signal will be such that it can drive the final stage of the final device, the transducer device. So that is you require a power amplifier. So that is why we need to discuss about the power amplifiers. But the beginning amplifiers, the small signal, low frequency class A amplifiers, we have only qualitatively discussed the amplifiers. We have not quantitatively discussed the amplifiers. We will discuss, you will get some idea that how the analysis will be. It is not very difficult one if you understand the amplifier conceptually. This power amplifier sections is mainly taken from the Integrated Electronics, Jacob Millman and Christias C. Helkias. This is a very fundamental book of electronics. Initially, it was the one of the fundamental book. Still now, it is one of the fundamental book of electronics. The conceptually, it is a very sound book. There is hardly any conceptual errors in this book. Okay, but if you study this book, then the concept will be much more finer about the electronics. I do not understand that. I am not. Have you got the power amplifier? What is a power amplifier, which is slightly different from the conventional amplifiers, just like the C amplifiers, class A amplifiers. Power amplifier is for at the final stage of the amplifying system. Have you understood the idea? Have everybody got the idea?
Yes, sir.
Is there any question regarding this? So it is not like that. You take an antenna, design an antenna, and design a class A power amplifier, one or two, then connect a speaker, you will get your voice signal or the song. It is not so easy. So you have to understand the power amplifier section and design the power amplifier. Then you connect the speaker, then you will get your signal. Have you got it? The the most inefficient power amplifier we are going to discuss. Okay. Why I am saying this one? This is the most inefficient power amplifier we are going to discuss. That is the class A power amplifier, which is a direct coupled. Class A power amplifier, we have discussed the philosophy of the class A power amplifier with the C amplifiers, that small signal C amplifiers can amplify signal class A, that means the full signal you will get at the output of the amplifier. But that is a small signal. That means the input signal should be small. Through the antenna, you know that when the antenna catches the signal, that signal should be small. So that is in the small signal. And at the output of these amplifiers, the signal will not be distorted. That is the main purpose. The signal will not be distorted, but you will still get some amplification. And we are discussing mainly the last stage of the amplifying system, which is the power amplifiers. Now, this is a class A power amplifier, direct coupled. This amplifier is the most inefficient power amplifiers we have to discuss, because we first go into the least significant, that is the least efficient power amplifier. The efficiency of this amplifier is the lowest. Then we will improve our power amplifiers, and finally we will get some very better and better amplifiers to such that the signal AC power will be boosted to a high value, such that the output devices will be different. So this is the class A power amplifier. We will discuss this one first. Whatever is the discussion we have discussed with the biasing and the C amplifier, that will be applied here. That discussions or that understanding will be applied here, such that you can understand this class A power amplifier. This is not a different, this is this amplifier, class A power amplifier, though it is a power amplifier, but it is not very much different from the class A small signal C amplifiers. Okay, so we have to discuss this one. It will be quite easy, but these discussions or this understanding will make you but we will also calculate that how efficient or how good this power amplifiers. But truly speaking, our calculations will be mainly on the graphical method, not with the help of some equations, but mainly with the graphical method. This graphical method will make you understand clearly that how this signal is amplified and how to calculate the AC signal, AC power, how to evaluate the efficiencies, such, and it will be very clear to you that what is actually going on into the amplifier circuit. So the circuit is very simple, just like the C amplifiers. Only difference is that I'm just giving you the differences that these input sections. Okay, first you have to understand the transistor. So this is a transistor. The structure of the class A power amplifier, it is simplified here. It is a, you see that it is a NPN transistor. I don't need to discuss about this one. You already know that it is a arrowhead is outward side. So it is a NPN transistor. Now, in the self-bias circuit, for the case of C amplifier, what we have seen that there are two resistances connected to VCC. So here you have a resistance and at R1, and also there is another resistance R2 after this R1. So these are the two resistances we have seen in case of self-bias C amplifier circuit. But in this case, you see that also we have simplified the self-bias circuit R1, R2 section with the Thevenin's theorem and simplified the sections that VT and RT is the equivalent to the base side, and that is the R1, R2 section of the, that is the left-hand side of the base have been simplified to this VT and RT, which is the Thevenin voltage and Thevenin resistances. And this equivalent circuit here is actually that one. You can also draw the R1, R2, or you can draw the simplified. This is in this figure, it is drawn in the simplified section. So this is your VT, okay, Thevenin equivalent voltage, and this is your RT, which is the Thevenin equivalent resistance. So this VT and RT you have got from the Thevenin's after the applications of the Thevenin's theorem to the R1, R2 portion of the circuit in case of self-bias. So you can directly draw the R1, R2 connected to the VCC, or you can draw also the Thevenin equivalent, which is drawn here, that is the VT and RT version. That are also similar because these two circuit will be similar. So this input portion is not nothing new. It is the equivalent of the self-biasing portion R1, R2. That portion, if you Thevenize it, you will get this one. So this input section is not difficult. It is from coming from the self-bias actually. So VT-RT is connected to the base. Why I am saying this? Because if I want to make you recognize the circuit. So R1, R2, what we have learned after the Thevenization, that is the equivalent circuit. So this is the equivalent circuit, and actually in this circuit, the equivalent circuits have been used. This is the RC resistance we have seen in the self-bias C amplifier circuit, but that RC resistance, instead of the RC resistance, this is the load resistance. The output device, that is a speaker or whatever with the output device, that is directly connected here. So this resistance RL is the equivalent resistance of the speaker. The speaker is connected between the VCC and the collector. So this is the collector, this is the VCC. So speaker is connected here. So that RL, instead of RC, you have the load is directly connected to the collector, and that means it may be a speaker that is connected here, and this RL resistance is the equivalent resistance of the speaker. So that is why it is called the direct coupled. The load is directly coupled to the collector. One slight modification is there, that here there is no emitter resistance here. So this is the emitter resistance. You see that in case of self-bias circuit, you have a emitter resistance here. You had an emitter resistance here in case of self-bias circuit, but here you don't have any emitter resistance because this emitter resistance actually is omitted here. This is the difference between the circuit, that is the small signal class A power C amplifier circuit, and this class A power amplifier circuit. That emitter resistance is ideally zero here. Emitter resistance is ideally zero here, for the power amplifier, class A power amplifier. But this will give you, you know that this emitter resistance in the self-bias circuit actually gives you the stability, that if collector current tries to increase, this negative feedback provided by the RE emitter resistance will stabilize the collector current. So if you make this emitter resistance 0, then the stability of the circuit will not be so good. Ideally, this emitter resistance should be 0 for the power amplifier operation. Okay, but practically when we construct the circuit, this emitter resistance will be low, very low. So you have to connect here a very low amount of emitter resistance, such that that low amount of emitter resistance which gives you the stability, as well as that low amount of emitter resistance also serve the purpose of the power amplifier. So ideally, this emitter resistance is 0. Ideal, when we are discussing about the ideal concept, ideal circuit, that emitter resistance, you know that in case of ideal circuit, stability concern will not be there. That is why you can make this emitter resistance 0. But when you practically design this circuit, then there should be an emitter resistance whose value will be very low. Suppose 100 ohm, 50 ohm. This may be the order of the emitter resistance in case of when you design the practical circuit. That will not be very high value. That low value is required. So emitter resistance, that is why this emitter resistance is absent here, because we are dealing with the ideal circuits. Now look into this operation, the operation of this circuit. This is the blocking capacitor. You know that the function of the blocking capacitor, because we are supplying some AC, VS AC signal. This AC signal will be here at the input side. So this is a small AC signal, and that will go inside the base through this capacitor. It does not allow any DC current flow. And at the output end, you will get your amplified AC signal. So this will be your amplified AC signal at the output side. So that is the AC source VS. This AC source may be the output of the antenna. Okay, in case of whenever you are receiving the signal from the antenna, this AC source may be the output of the antenna, and that antenna signal will be amplified by the through of cascaded stages, and finally, and this amplifier actually finally gives you the large AC signal. So this VS source may be the previous stages output of the amplifiers. Okay, so that is the AC source which is connected. The AC signal will be boosted to this large value by this amplifier. Now let us see the output characteristics. We will use the graphical analysis method, such that we will use mainly the graphical analysis method that will make you understand that how to analyze these circuits and how to get the efficiency of the circuit and how good the circuit is to amplify the AC power, to boost the AC power. So you know that the output characteristics of the transistor is this one. This is the output characteristics of the transistors. In this side, you have the collector to emitter voltage. That is the voltage between the collector and the emitter. So this is the collector to emitter voltage. And in this side, ordinate, you have the collector current, which is actually flowing. So this is the collector current, which is actually flowing through the circuit, that is in the ordinate. So this is the output characteristics. You are in the output side. So the voltage drop across the collector and emitter, that is the collector emitter voltage in the x-axis, and the current flowing through the device is the collector current. So it is in the ordinate. You definitely know that this voltage and current is this is the voltage across the transistor, and this is the current flowing through the transistor, should be non-linear. That is why these are that is why the characteristics curves are like this one, the parallel lines like this one. And you know that these are the characteristics of the transistors for the three different base currents, the IB3, IB2, and IB1. So these are the three different characteristics we have chosen here into the curve. And if you plot the load line, so it is the load line of the output side of the circuit. We have discussed this one. So that is the load line. And the Q point is here. Okay, so this is the DC IB2 DC base current is flowing through the base of the transistor. And this ICQ amount of collector current here, this amount of collector current is flowing through DC collector current is flowing through the transistor collector. And this amount of this amount of DC base, a collector emitter voltage is applied across the collector and the emitter of the transistor. That is the DC collector and emitter voltage across the transistor. So this is the Q point, all the DC condition. That means the base current is IB2, DC collector current is flowing ICQ, and the DC collector emitter voltage, which is applied here, that is these are the coordinates of the Q point. So this is the quotient point operation of the DC condition of the circuit biasing. If you apply the signal at the input side through a capacitor like this, so you are applying an AC signal here. Okay, so you have applied a small AC signal at the input side. So the base current, which is the DC base current IBQ, which is flowing through it, will now vary like this one at the input. So base current will vary like this. Whenever you apply the AC signal, the base current IB2 for the positive half cycle will maximum go at the peak to this level, which is IB1. And in the negative half cycle, it can reach to IB3. So these are the two limits of the AC signal. So IB1 increases and gets the maximum value IB1, then it decreases to 0, then again reverses its current in the negative direction, that means it decreases to IB3, then again comes to 0. So this variation of the IB2 base current at the input side between IB1 and IB3 is due to the input signal, this input signal. If you eliminate this input signal, so it will stick to this IB2. That is the biasing DC current which is flowing through the transistor base. So you are in the operating condition of the transistor is in the Q point, middle of the that is in the intersection point of the Q point. For the positive half cycle, when IB2 jumps to IB1, this IB1, then the Q point, when the IB2 slightly increases towards the IB1, the maximum value, the Q point actually moves to 1 position. Okay, then the DC collector current, which was at this level, ICQ, that actually starts from 0 to this peak value. Okay, then the IB1 current, base current, actually goes to 0 again. So Q1 from this Q point, from this 1 position, again goes back to the original position for the AC current, which is AC base current is 0. Then the collector current also goes to this 0 point. Again, the base current for the negative half cycle goes to IB3, which is the position point 2. Then the collector current actually goes to the minimum value because the base current is also going to the minimum value. Then again, it becomes to this 0 position whenever the base current becomes 0, and the Q point again goes to its original position. So in this way, the DC quotient point, which will be always fixed in the Q point position at this point, if you don't apply any AC signal, the Q point will be at that point. That will give you the DC condition, DC base current, DC collector current, DC collector emitter voltage, all will be DC. As soon as you apply the AC signal, the base current swings between the DC current IB2 to IB1 to IB3. Similarly, the Q point will jump from Q point 1 to 1 position to 2 position. In this way, the Q point will fluctuate in between this. And similarly, you will get at the output the collector current swing accordingly. So in this way, after the biasing, if you apply some AC signal at the input, so at the input, whenever you apply some AC signal here, so you will get this collector current swing. So the collector current from the DC ICQ, it actually vary between Imax. So collector current has a maximum value, which is we are representing as a Imax, and collector current has a minimum value, which we are representing as I minimum. So in between, collector current actually vary in between Imax and I min, maintaining a DC value that the biasing value is ICQ. When the Q point is in the middle, the voltage across the collector emitter is here. When the Q point is one position for the positive half cycle, the voltage of the collector emitter is V minimum. We called it as a minimum because the voltage is decreasing if the Q point shifts to the one position or the collector current jumps to the peak value or the input signal is at the peak value. When the Q point goes to the two position, the base current is minimum, collector current is also minimum, but the voltage, corresponding voltage, collector emitter voltage become V max, which is the maximum voltage. So the voltage swing will be like this one. So this is the voltage swing. So the collector and emitter voltage, which is without the signal has a DC value, this one. Now it will swing an AC, it will swing between V minimum and V max. Okay, so this is the voltage swing of the collector emitter voltage, or the voltage drop between the collector and emitter has a actually vary between swing between V minimum and V maximum. Okay, so these are the ACs you are getting at the output of the transistor. So the AC current which is actually flowing through the transistor, this is actually gives you the AC collector current, small I, small c. Small I, small c gives you the true AC current. Only AC is there. The DC current is capital I, capital C, Q. So that is why this I, capital C, Q suffix is also capital and the parameter is also capital. Definitely in the discussions of this type of devices, all the devices, if the parameter is capital, suffix is also capital through the terminals, then that is a true DC value. So I is capital, CQ, collector quotient current is also capital. That means that is a true current, DC current. And if the parameter is small and the suffix is also small, suffix mean collector, emitter, base, all this, then the current is truly AC. The total collector current is the summation of IC, the true AC current, plus the summation of DC. The total collector current, you see that this is the DC ICQ plus the AC variation. It must be represented by small I, capital C. You see the symbol here, small I, capital C. Small I and capital C suffix parameter is capital and the original parameter is small, then it contains the AC plus DC, both the currents actually contained here. So that is why in the ordinate you see that you have this DC current plus the AC. That is why this is small I, capital C. So these are the notations used in the device analysis. All the device analysis, you have these notations. Is that okay? So small I, small c, or the parameter and the suffix is small, that is the small c, that is the AC. Parameter is capital, that is capital I, and the suffix is also capital, CQ is also capital I, capital C, that is truly DC. And the total current, which is the AC plus DC, should be represented by the parameter small, suffix capital. That means in case of here, it is collector current, it is I, small I, capital C. So these are the notations which should be followed in the device analysis, all the devices mainly follow these notations. Okay, entire electronics device analysis, the current voltages follow, because devices circuits also contains the DC as well as the AC. That all the notations should be like this. So all the devices, this is applicable for in general for all the devices. So have you understood the amplification by this amplifier circuit, which is also similar to the CE amplifier? Have you understood this amplifier circuits amplification process as well as the notations? Then we will calculate some efficiency of this circuit. Have you got this one clearly? Is there any question? Anyone has any doubt? If you don't have any doubt, then also respond. Shovik? You don't have any doubt. Any others?
No, sir, no doubt.
Anyone? Anyone has any doubts? Okay.
No, sir, you may go.
Okay. So in the case of load line, we have analyzed the load line in a particular circuit, specifically the self-bias circuit. And you see that this load line is nothing but the graphical representation of the KVL at the output loop. Okay, we have got the KVLs and we have found that that should be a straight line, because you know that the KVL is the extended version of the Ohm's law, that is a straight line equation. So it will produce like this. And these point coordinates and these point coordinates we have also found in case of self-bias circuit. And you definitely you see that this point coordinate should be the supply voltage VCC. We have found this one. The coordinates of the load line you should remember. Okay, so this is the supply voltage coordinate. Whenever the load line actually intersects the VCC axis, the collector voltage line x-axis, that will be VCC. So this I just want to remember, make you recall your memory that that should be a VCC. Now, so we are doing the graphical analysis instead of the applying the KVL KCL and extracting the KVL KCL and solving it to get the AC power output. Instead of doing all this equational analysis, analytical analysis, we are going into the graphical analysis, because it will be very easy to understand what you are actually doing, and it will also give you the insight of the amp. You can see that how much signal is there. You can see that how much voltage. You can understand that how the signal is there. So we will do the graphical analysis. It will give you a pictorial description to how you actually analyze the performance of this amplifier. Now we have quantified the AC signal. So input side, whenever you apply signal, so you have this collector current at the output. You have this collector current which is actually flowing. So this is the collector current. And this is the output voltage generated between the collector and emitter. Okay. So you see that this is the AC collector current flowing through the transistor collector emitter. And this is the collector and emitter voltage, AC voltage, have been generated across the transistor. After the applications of the AC signal, if you withdraw the AC signal, the collector current will stick to this ICQ constant value. And because it will, the transistor will remain in the Q point position, middle of the this, that is the DC Q point. And the voltage across the transistor will be this one at this point. And you see that this is the DC voltage you will get. As soon as you apply AC, then this DC ICQ current will fluctuate between Imax and Imin according to the signal. And the collector emitter voltage actually fluctuates between Vmin to Vmax, because there is a 180-degree phase shift. You have seen that we have understood that the voltage is opposite of the collector current swing. 180-degree phase shift is there. So what are the AC current is flowing? AC signal current between Imax and Imin. This is the collector current swing. And the AC voltage drop developed between collector and emitter across the transistor. It is the Vmin to Vmax. So this is the maximum swing. It varies between Vmin and Vmix, peak to peak. So these are the two AC signals we are getting from this amplifier at the output side. This is very clear. The amplitude of the collector current swing is represented by Im. This is the peak value, Im. Okay. And similarly, you can quantify the voltage swing also, peak value. Now, so you have the AC collector current fluctuates between Imax and Imin. Also, the AC voltage developed across the transistor fluctuates between Vmin and Vmax. If you withdraw the AC, this fluctuation will be absent, and you only see the DC collector current which is flowing through the transistor ICQ, and DC collector emitter voltage between collector and emitter, that is the constant voltage. These currents and voltage and base current will flow IB2, this constant base current, which is actually the IBQ. These constant base currents, collector currents, and collector emitter voltage actually due to the biasing of the transistor. That means you have designed the transistor circuit to set the Q point in the middle of the active region. That is why. As soon as you apply AC signal, the collector current from that DC value will swing between Imax and Imin, and the collector emitter voltage will swing between Vmin and Vmax. So this is the very simple way you can understand that what is going on before you apply the signal after the biasing, and as soon as you apply the signal, what happens to that, how the signal voltages are developed between at the output side of the transistor. This is a pictorial description. If you follow this pictorial description, then it will be very clear to understand what is actually going on. Now we will measure that how much AC power have been generated by this amplifier at the output side. It will not be very difficult one, because you can understand that you have quantified the collector current between Imax and Imin. Also, you have quantified the AC voltage, collector emitter voltage between Vmin and Vmax. So now we can very easily calculate this AC. Whatever you have learned from the electrical class or the high secondary class, that how to quantify the AC. Achha, can anybody say that how to measure an AC? Suppose you have a AC current or voltage, how to measure it? Do you know? Will you take an average value?
Yes, sir. RMS value.
RMS value, very good. If you go for the average value, conventional average value, so you know that the positive half cycle has a positive area and negative half cycle has a negative area, so it will cancel each other. So you will get the average value 0. So to measure the AC, average value does not work. That average value calculation process will not work. What you have to do, you have to square the AC quantities. Suppose it is a collector current, so if you square it, then a negative portion of the current will be positive also. Then take a average, then take a root, that is called the root mean square, RMS value. So to measure, you all know that the AC, to measure all the meters, to measure the AC in the market, that is based on the RMS, root mean square. That does not take the average directly like that.
Sir. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sir, we have another class at 10:50 a.m.
I know. I will finish. Let me continue for the 5 minutes.
Okay, sir. Okay.
This is what I have discussed just to prepare you to just to understand what is going on into the circuit. Now it is very easy to calculate the RMS and get the AC powers. Okay. So this is the AC current, collector current flowing between Imax and Imin. What is the peak value? Amplitude, Im. What should be the amplitude? The collector current amplitude should be Imax minus Imin divided by 2. Is that okay? So the collector current, AC collector current has a peak value Imax minus Imin by 2. Similarly, the collector emitter voltage, which is also a AC, fluctuates between Vmin, peak to peak value is Vmin and Vmax. So what will be the amplitude? Vmax minus Vmin divided by 2. So this is the amplitudes of the two AC currents and voltages across the transistor. So you just quickly now see that so this is the IRMS. This is the IRMS. So the RMS value of this, what will be the RMS value for a sine wave? That is the amplitude divided by √2. So Im, that is the Im amplitude divided by √2. And what is Im? It is Imax minus Imin divided by 2. So this is your amplitude, Imax minus Imin divided by 2 by √2. So it is the RMS value of the AC collector current is Imax minus Imin by 2 √2. Similarly, the VRMS should be Vm, peak value of the AC signal, that is the peak value of the AC signal voltage, that is Vm by √2. And you know that Vm means Vmax minus Vmin divided by 2. So it will be Vmax minus Vmin divided by 2 √2. So IRMS, that is the collector current flowing through the transistor between collector and emitter, is Imax minus Imin by 2 √2. And the voltage developed between the collector and emitter AC voltage, RMS value is Vmax minus Vmin by 2 √2. So the current flowing through the transistor is IRMS, AC current, and voltage, AC voltage developed across the transistor is VRMS. Then what is the AC power generated by this transistor? This collector current, RMS value of collector current into the RMS value of the voltage developed across the transistor. So the AC power output certainly will be VRMS into IRMS. Or you can follow this one, or you can directly multiply these two quantities. This is the RMS value of current, IRMS. It is Vmax minus Vmin by 2 √2 into Imax minus Imin by 2 √2. And you know that it will come out to be Vmax minus Vmin into Imax minus Imin by 8. So with this graphical analysis, it is very easy to calculate the AC power generated by this transistor. The formula is, in case of class A amplifier, formula is PAC equal to Vmax minus Vmin, Imax minus Imin by 8. Only you need to know that you draw the characteristics and load line and find out these coordinates. What are the coordinates? Imax, Imin, Vmax, Vmin. If you know these 4 coordinates from the graph, then you can calculate that how much AC power will be generated by this class A power amplifier. So it is very easy in this graphical method. If you go for the equations, then it will be very difficult to understand that how to calculate that one and what is you are actually doing. Have you got it? Is there any difficulty to understand that how to calculate the AC powers?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Anybody has any doubt?
স্যার
No,
একটা
sir.
কথা ছিল
হ্যাঁ বলো বলো।
স্যার বলছি এই ক্লাসে অ্যাম্পলিফায়ারের যে সার্কিটটা আছে ওটায় সাপ্লাইয়ের অ্যাক্রসে যে ডিসি সাপ্লাইটা দিচ্ছে ওটা কেন দিচ্ছে?
কোনটা? এইটা?
ভিএস এর অ্যাক্রসে যে ডিসি সাপ্লাইটা দিচ্ছি।
ভিএস এর অ্যাক্রস, ও এইটা?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ।
এটা সেই থেভেনিন ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট। ভুলে গেছো মনে হয়। এইখানে কিরকম ছিল সার্কিটটা? অ্যাকচুয়ালি সার্কিটটা কিরকম ছিল? সার্কিটটা এরকম ছিল, দেখো। এই ভিসিসি, জাস্ট এ মিনিট। এই সার্কিটটা অ্যাকচুয়ালি বায়াসিং সার্কিটটা কিরকম ছিল, এই ভিসিসি থেকে একটা এখানে একটা R1 রেজিস্ট্যান্স ছিল না, আর এইখানে একটা R2 রেজিস্ট্যান্স ছিল,
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
ছিল তো
হ্যাঁ
সেলফ বায়াসে, আর এমিটারে একটা রেজিস্ট্যান্স ছিল RE, তাই তো। আমি পাওয়ার অ্যাম্পলিফায়ারে ইউজুয়ালি কি হয়, এমিটার রেজিস্ট্যান্সটা আইডিয়ালি 0 করলে তোমার এসি পাওয়ারটা খুব বেড়ে যাবে, সেই জন্য এখানে এমিটার রেজিস্ট্যান্সটাকে আইডিয়ালি 0 দেখানো হয়েছে, কিন্তু প্র্যাকটিক্যালি যখন ডিজাইন করবে তখন এমিটার রেজিস্ট্যান্স 0 করলে বায়াস স্টেবিলিটি কমে যাবে, সেই জন্য এই প্র্যাকটিক্যাল সার্কিটে এমিটার রেজিস্ট্যান্স ইউজ করবে, কিন্তু তার ভ্যালুটা খুব কম হবে, 50 ওহম 100 ওহম। এটা গেল এমিটার রেজিস্ট্যান্স পার্ট, কিন্তু বায়াসিং সার্কিটটা তো একই থাকবে, নাহলে তো ট্রানজিস্টরের কিউ পয়েন্টটা সেট হবে না। ট্রানজিস্টরে যে কিউ পয়েন্টটা, ট্রানজিস্টরটাকে যদি অপারেটিং কন্ডিশনে নিয়ে যেতে হয় তাহলে তার বায়াসিং করতে হবে, কিউ পয়েন্টটাকে সেট করতে হবে। কিউ পয়েন্ট সেট করার জন্য কি কি লাগে, ভিসিসি, এখানে আরসি ছিল, এখানে এখন আরএল আছে, এই R1 রেজিস্ট্যান্সটা লাগবে, এই R2 রেজিস্ট্যান্সটা লাগবে, এই তো আর RE রেজিস্ট্যান্সটা লাগবে, এটা তো বায়াসিং ডিসি সেট কিউ পয়েন্ট সেট করার জন্য,
হ্যাঁ
তাই তো।
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
কিন্তু এই ইনপুট সাইডটাকে আমরা সিম্পলিফাই করে নিয়েছিলাম, কারণ আমরা জানি যে ইনপুট সাইডে R1 R2 টাকে এইভাবে রেখে অ্যানালিসিস করলে আমাদের অ্যানালিসিসটা অনেক কমপ্লিকেটেড হবে। এটাকে থেভেনিস করেছিলাম না, এই পয়েন্ট, এই পয়েন্টটা আর এই পয়েন্টের মধ্যে থেভেনাইজ করেছিলাম, করলে কি ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট হবে, থেভেনিন রেজিস্ট্যান্স আর থেভেনিন ভোল্টেজ পেয়েছিলাম, যে ভিটি পেয়েছিলাম সেটা হচ্ছে R1 R2 বাই R1 প্লাস R2 ভিসিসি বাই R1 প্লাস R2 পেয়েছিলাম, সেটা হচ্ছে এইটা ভিটি। আর যে আরটি পেয়েছিলাম ওপেন সার্কিট ভোল্টেজ, সেটা R1 R2 বাই R1 প্লাস R1 R2 প্যারালাল, সেটা হচ্ছে এইটা। তাহলে আমার এই দুটো রেজিস্ট্যান্সকে আর লাগাতে হবে না, এইভাবে আমি ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট সার্কিটটাকে ব্যবহার করব, সেই জন্য এই ভিটি আরটি ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট সার্কিট ফর্মে এটাকে দেখানো হয়েছে। এইটা তুমি এইভাবে দেখাতে পারো, অথবা এখানে ওই দুটো রেজিস্ট্যান্স কানেক্ট করতে পারো, ঠিক আছে।
আচ্ছা স্যার, বুঝতে পেরেছি, মানে ওটা
এটাকে
ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট।
বাদ, হ্যাঁ এটাকে এরকম রিপ্রেজেন্ট, বা এইটাও ব্যবহার করতে পারো তুমি, এটাকে বাদ দিয়ে এই R1 R2 ভিসিসি কানেক্টেড করে তুমি ওইটাকেও দেখাতে পারো, দুটো একই জিনিস, এইভাবে দেখানো ওইভাবে দেখানো দুটো ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট। এর ভিটি আর আরটি বা এই যে বা ডিসি দেখছো, এটা হচ্ছে বায়াসিং এর জন্য, এটা না দিলে তো তোমার ট্রানজিস্টরটা কিউ পয়েন্ট সেট হবে না। ট্রানজিস্টর কিউ পয়েন্ট যদি সেট না থাকে, ধরো ট্রানজিস্টর ওইটা যদি না দাও, তাহলে বেস কারেন্ট ফ্লো করবে না, তখন কিউ পয়েন্টটা তো এইখানে বসে থাকবে, তাহলে তো তোমার সিগন্যালটা অ্যাম্পলিফাই হবে না। কিউ পয়েন্টটা যাতে এই কাটআপে না থাকে, মিডল অফ দ্য অ্যাক্টিভ রিজনে থাকে, সেই জন্যই বায়াসিং তোমাকে করতে হবে, তারপরে তুমি এসি সিগন্যাল লাগাচ্ছ, ঠিক আছে, বুঝতে পেরেছো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, বুঝেছি এটা।
আর কোনো কোশ্চেন আছে? আর কার কোনো কোশ্চেন আছে?
স্যার বলছি, এটা ম্যাক্সিমাম পাওয়ার ট্রান্সফার থিওরেম অনুযায়ী হচ্ছে না সুপারপজিশন থিওরেম?
কোনটা
এই যে সার্কিটটা যেটা বললেন
ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট করলাম যেটা,
হ্যাঁ
এটা তো থেভেনিন করেছিলাম না, সেলফ বায়াসে থেভেনিন কিভাবে করে ওটাকে থেভেনাইজ করেছিলাম, থেভেনিন থিওরেম অ্যাপ্লাই করি। কোনো একটা সার্কিটকে যদি সিম্পলিফাই করতে হয়, ওই যে দুটো পয়েন্টের মধ্যে সিম্পলিফাই করবে, যে দুটো নোডের মধ্যে, সেই দুটো নোডের মধ্যে আইদার লেফট হ্যান্ড পোর্শন অথবা রাইট হ্যান্ড পোর্শন, যে পোর্শনে সার্কিটকে সিম্পলিফাই করতে চাচ্ছে সেখানে থেভেনিন অ্যাপ্লাই করতে হবে। থেভেনিন থিওরেম জানো তো?
আচ্ছা ঠিক।
আমি ওই সেলফ বায়াসে ওই ক্লাসটাতে দেখো, সেলফ বায়াসে ওই থেভেনিন থিওরেম অ্যাপ্লাই করে এই ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট সার্কিটটা পেয়েছিলাম, যাতে করে সার্কিটের অ্যানালিসিসটা সিম্পল হয়।
না আরো
বুঝতে পেরেছো? হ্যাঁ, থেভেনিন থিওরেম বার করেছিলাম, থেভেনিন ব্যাটারি আর থেভেনিন রেজিস্ট্যান্স, তাহলে ওই কমপ্লিকেটেড সার্কিটটা, তাহলে আমার একটা ব্যাটারির সঙ্গে সিরিজে হচ্ছে একটা রেজিস্ট্যান্স, একটা ব্যাটারির সঙ্গে সিরিজে একটা রেজিস্ট্যান্স হবে, একটা ব্যাটারি তার সঙ্গে সিরিজে একটা রেজিস্ট্যান্স, এই তো থেভেনিন ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট সার্কিট। একটা কমপ্লিকেটেড সার্কিটকে খুব সিম্পলি একটা ব্যাটারি আর সিরিজে একটা রেজিস্ট্যান্স দিয়ে করা যায়, সেটা কি করতে হবে, জাস্ট একটা থেভেনিন থিওরেম অ্যাপ্লাই করো, ওপেন সার্কিট ভোল্টেজ বার করো,
স্যার এই রেজিস্ট্যান্সটা কি এটার ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট রেজিস্ট্যান্স RTH?
হ্যাঁ R1 R2 বাই R1 প্লাস R1 R2 প্যারালাল কম্বিনেশন, এটা ঠিক আছে। সার্কিটের কনস্ট্রাকশনটাকে তোমার ডিফারেন্ট লাগতে পারে, দেখতে ডিফারেন্ট লাগবে, কিন্তু থেভেনিন থিওরেম বলে দিচ্ছে যে ওই কনস্ট্রাকশন আর এই কনস্ট্রাকশনটা ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট, সার্কিটটা একই রকম ভাবে দুটো ক্ষেত্রেই কাজ করবে। এইটা হচ্ছে থেভেনিন থিওরেমের অ্যাপ্লিকেশন। বড় সার্কিটকে বুঝতে অসুবিধা, ছোট করে নিলে তুমি, ঠিক আছে, বুঝেছো?
ওকে স্যার।
হ্যালো স্যার।
এনি আদার? হ্যাঁ হয়ে গেছে টাইম, তাই তো?
স্যার বলছি, হ্যাঁ 50 দিয়ে ক্লাস আছে।
হ্যাঁ বলো।
মানে 10:50 দিয়ে স্যার আরেকটা ক্লাস আছে ডেটা স্ট্রাকচারের।
হ্যাঁ জানি।
আমরা
হ্যাঁ
আমরা
ঠিক আছে।
আমরা
হ্যাঁ
লিভ করতে পারি?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ লিভ করো হয়তো আমি ওইটুকু আপাতত থাক, পরের দিন আবার হবে। ও হ্যাঁ নেক্সট ক্লাসটা আমি ওই রবিবার দিন আমি পসিবল